Craig Revel Horwood is a critically acclaimed dancer, director and choreographer. He's been a member of the judging panel on BBC's Strictly Come Dancing since it began in 2004, and his debut novel, Dancers and Dreams on Diamond Street, is out now. And he's here to talk to me about it. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Craig. We've just been chatting about positive thinking, actually, before we chat about your book. Do you have any rituals to make sure you stay positive? Are you a positive person?
I am, actually. I think you have to be in life. I don't think you get anywhere without positivity. I think, negative thoughts can be easily removed. And I think that's the important thing to remember, and to face fears that don't exist. Because I always think to myself, why am I nervous or scared to do this? And that's just fear. And once you eliminate that, then you can be successful. So I think it's really important to think everything has a positive spin on it. I mean, especially when I'm judging on Strictly Come Dancing, of course, I have to give some negative feedback, but that's only in order to introduce a positive outcome, you see.
Okay.
And that's my job, though. But I mean, if I'm actually with those people and teaching them, I would encourage them, of course, and say, okay, these are the positives, but these are the things we have to fix in order to get a positive outcome. So I think, some negativity leads to a positive outcome. But I think thinking negatively is not a great thing. There's always a solution. And that's what I'm always looking for as a director and a choreographer. What is the solution to this? How do I tell the story clearly? And you can relate that to your own life. You can wake up in the morning and say, okay, I'm going to have a really positive day today. I'm going to do something that I've been putting off for ages and get on with it, and if it doesn't work out, there is always an answer. There's always a solution, and everything in life can be overcome.
Very good. Now, I was reading a bit about you. So obviously we know you well, but I read that you've written three best-selling autobiographies.
Yeah, I have. The first one was sort of skeletons in the closet. And that was all about my life growing up in Australia and then how I became a dancer and the move to the UK, of course, 30 years ago. And then the second one was more about Strictly and my experience on that over the last 16 years. And then, of course, the last of the trilogy, I call it, of my life, darling, in strictest confidence, is about the death of my father and how I managed to round my life up and sort of start all over again with a different outlook and attitude as a different person, because I was no longer a dancer, I was no longer an actor at that time, and my life was going in a very different way. So that for me summed it up, and that's what led me to write Dancers and Dreams on Diamond Street.
Yes, tell us why a novel.
Well, only because I had a lot of stories left in me and I really didn't want to expose everybody anymore. So I decided to change all their names, darling. There is one character in it, Danny. Of course, it's a romp through the 90s, my favourite sort of period of time in London, when I was living in Camden Town in a 6-bedroom house there. With lots of other people. And
so it was. So I was going to ask you that because, the novel is set in this ramshackle 6-story townhouse in Camden. So this is... You lived in such a house, did you?
Yeah, I did for 5 years of my life before I found my dream home up the road that I could actually afford to buy. But it's when you're starting out. I wanted to make the change in 1994, and that's where I've set the book. I wanted to make the change from being a dancer to a choreographer, which is really, really difficult because you're hanging up your dance shoes. Also, you're full of fear of the future. But the people that I lived with were either wannabe artists, wannabe interviewers and journalists and really sort of out there people, and it was and I wrote the book really because there were loads of stories connected to that I just thought would be absolutely fantastic for people to hear. So I put the whole thing together and truncated the characters and then gave them really good arcs throughout the whole thing, so it could eventually be turned into a play, for instance, so it's really, really fantastic to do, and something through COVID to do as well. I think if anyone's got I think everyone has a book in them, and I would suggest, if you've got nothing to do and you're bored, start putting pen to paper, because it's loads of fun. And especially with fiction, I could go anywhere with the characters. It's the first time, because of course writing only autobiographies is difficult because you've got to stick to the truth the whole time. And why not bend it, darling, and make the truth better?
And it's
so that's what I've done, and I've had a great time with it.
Yeah, and I've sort of skimmed as much as I could before talking to you. It's a book about fulfilling dreams.
Well, yes, of course, and dance, obviously, because that's been a big part of my life.
Tell us when you thought it was going to be possible for you to fulfill your dreams.
Well, I never thought, actually, even as a kid when I was learning to dance, I never really thought that I'd ever make it as a professional dancer. But then I got a real bug for it, and I couldn't leave it alone. I tried several different professions. I went. I worked at a TV station as a trainee cameraman. I went in as an apprentice chef to try that. I went into hairdressing all the time I was training, and everyone was always saying around me, it's not a great profession. There isn't much work. You need to have something behind you. But of course, I, at 18, got a job called West Side Story as a professional dancer. And then I gave up the hairdressing at that point. And from that moment on, I never stopped working. I totally fell in love with it. So I think that's about following your dreams and hopes. I think it's really important, and having a passion in life. I wasn't passionate about the TV cameraman stuff. I was just falling into it. I wasn't passionate about hairdressing, but I was passionate about dance, and that's what I wanted to do. And I think that is the most important thing to encourage, particularly in your children. If they have a shining light, for art or anything that they really want to do, I think it's really important that they follow it, because you're going to be much better at your job if you have a passion for it. I think so. I think that's a really important thing to do, is to listen to your inner voice and self. Sometimes I think we tend to rule with our heads a little bit too much, and I think it's really nice on occasion to let the heart sort of take over as well.
Lovely to chat to you. Thank you. Dances and Dreams on Diamond Street is out now. Thank you, Craig Revel Horwood.